So, welcome to a new episode of our podcast, Destructive Interactions in Society. Today, me, Nebras Dantush, and Kemal Gogua are going to highlight the facts of a controversial topic that it hasn't been discussed in a more serious way and dimensions that this topic has, in which applies a negative effect in different aspects on the society. We will be discussing the generational conflict for this episode. So, Kemal, can you please explain for our listeners what is the generational conflict?
Well, it is difficult to define such a complex concept, but to begin with a broader definition that can reach a wider audience, generational conflict is the growing disagreements among people in different age groups and generations. And the most obvious examples are the issues between children and their parents or grandparents, which are sometimes excused under adolescent rebellion, which is simply not the case because generational conflict can be seen among adult representatives of different generations. And to understand how parent and children relationships affect this, I can give an example of how if the parents have negative interactions with their younger children, that could affect how they interact with anyone from the younger generation, with their assumptions and stereotypes. And the same goes for the children. If they have negative interactions with their parents, members of the older generation, that will affect their interactions with other members of the older generation, thus expanding the conflict. And another way that this conflict exists is each generation grew up in a different circumstance, in different societal times, with different norms. And this is very fundamental in understanding why these conflicts exist.
Okay, I think I got it, but I actually think I also have some knowledge here that I really would like to share with you. I have some professional answers for why all this humongous inevitable conflict has occurred in the very first place. So, one reason is the tense relationships between parents and mostly their teenagers, their kids. So, the majority of adults at some point argue with their children, which is referred to as a restrained or strained relationships between parents and teenagers. Also, the personality conflicts are other factors that lead to generational conflict, including this personality conflict and divergent perspectives on work ethics. Besides, age discrimination, which presumptions such as expectations of performance and technical aptitude. And finally, the workplace conflict. There can be reasons such as conflicts about how to do a task more efficiently or misinterpretations based on age stereotypes.
Indeed, and to specify more about the workplace conflict, the examples could be if an older boss hires a new young worker, they would not expect them to be professional and experienced in their attitude and ethics.
Yeah,
So whenever they fail, that would be the expected outcome. And anytime they actually do good work, they would never be rewarded properly.
that's
And
true.
on the other side, when an older person starts working in, let's say, a very technical computer facility, the younger coworkers will have a negative perception of their abilities because they think that older people are unable to use technology as well as they can. And we need to understand these in order to find ways to cope with the conflict and try to decrease it. And there are steps to this. And number one would be identifying the cause of the issue, because it's crucial to take time to hear all points of views and make an effort to comprehend what the other person is trying to convey in order to prevent any misunderstandings. Number two would be consider all options before making a decision about how to proceed. Every story has two sides, it's true. Prior to taking any action, it's crucial to carefully weigh both perspectives and decide which option would serve the organization as a whole the best. Number three is be adaptable and prepare to make compromises. There might not always be a golden solution to everything, and you might have to favor one side in a sense that not favoring them in a sense that they're better, but more towards the fact that the solution would be better for the whole company. Number four is to eliminate the source of disagreements. Conflicts will continue to exist until everyone realizes why they are acting in that way, and conflicts across generations tend to result from the fact that society was very different between the generation, the communication styles, societal values and norm, power structures, and attitudes towards workplace and personal habits and hobbies. Because a person growing up in the 80s and 90s is different from someone from the 2000s and 2010s. Understanding this is very crucial. To number five, you have to consider yourself to be a part of the team. Understanding where a person's coming from is very important before requesting them to change their opinion. You have to consider what was going through their head and why they acted in the way they did. You have to politely approach them and explain how your actions and others were impacted by their behavior. You might explain your feelings and seek assistance, and through this, have a better understanding and a cohesive conversation between the generations.
Mhm. Okay, yes, that's really actually efficient. Thank you very much, Kemal, for all of these points. So, around the world, generational conflict maintains itself in many different perceptions, like cultural, political, economic, and social, between different age groups. As demographics change, especially with aging, generational conflicts are becoming more pronounced across the globe. So, how do you think the country of Turkey has its special influence on this issue news?
In Turkey and around the globe, generational conflict is closely linked to changes in family structure and values. In Turkish past, for example, society was dominated by multi-generational families. However, with the development of urbanization, westernization, and modernization, more families have become this sort of nuclear families, the more Western idea families, which led to conflicts and views of interest between different age groups. The younger generation places emphasis on personal freedom and career development, whilst the older generation emphasizes the importance of family and traditional values. In addition, the government has a huge role to play in this, especially the Turkish government, because, for example, the government's social security policies tend to favor the old over the young. This creates a conflict of interest because the young feel underrepresented. Another example would be the Turkish government's underinvestment in education, which leads to unemployment difficulties and younger generation's ability to have a proper education. And around the globe, the government plays a very crucial part because it could have a positive impact and change into the society. However, any changes between societal norms and expectations and policies and rights and freedoms would create distinctions between generations, which act upon the conflict. Therefore, the government and the society altogether have to take measures to address the generational conflict and promote understanding and cooperation among different age groups.
Wow, this was really informative. Thank you very much, Kemal, for the cooperation for this episode. And I really hope you all got enhanced by our talks and you got all the important points about this very serious topics. And see you all next episode. Bye bye.